let's move on to our next question and dig in a little deeper, right? So let's talk about numbers. How do web analytics, let's start with the first question. How do web analytics play a part in something like a marketing campaign?
So only if you have it set up. A lot of people kind of assume that just because they have analytics, and this is another thing, we've run into a lot of contractors that assume they have analytics set up on their website. We always set it up for our customers, but a lot of times, sometimes you actually have to actually put the code in the snippet and be able to have it set up so it's reading off your page, or maybe you're recovering it from another web agency or whatever. So first off, be sure that you have analytics set up correctly to your place. In addition to that, another thing that a lot of people don't do with their web analytics is they don't narrow it down to service area. They'll take in all these different page hits and then all their data that's coming in, but it's coming in from everywhere. We take all of our clients and we make sure we build a segment for them that is called service area, and it only includes cities within 30 to 40 miles of what they actually service, so that the results that they're reading on their data actually pertain to what they do business with. They don't care if it's in a different state. They don't care if it's from Russia. They don't care if it's 50, 70 miles away, because it doesn't pertain to them. Now, there are some things to think about with that. If, for instance, I have a lot of clients that are in Florida, or a lot of clients that are in Myrtle Beach, for instance, and they run vacation homes, and so people are searching them out of state to have maintenance done on their homes, there are obviously caveats to that. Another thing to think about is some people get really discouraged because they'll find out maybe they're working in a metro area and they'll see all their city data points in there, and they'll see a lot where, for instance, I have a lot of clients that live around Salt Lake City, and they'll find that majority of their traffic comes from Salt Lake City, yet they don't service inside Salt Lake City. Something to keep in mind when you're reading some of that data is a lot of commuters come at Salt Lake City. They may not live in Salt Lake City. They live in the area surrounding, in the metro area surrounding Salt Lake City. But the thing is they're at work during the day. Obviously, that's changed in today's times. But in general, the commuters that are still going into the city, they're still looking you up while they're at work. They're still trying to schedule something while they're at work, or getting somebody there, or looking at your website maybe. They already knew that the AC was broken in the morning. They're on their lunch break. They're booking a call. So just know that can skew the data too sometimes, and those metro markets can be an issue where you can find a lot of your traffic comes from that. But just take it with a grain of salt and realize that still means doesn't mean that they live in those areas. It means that sometimes it's a lot of work commute that goes on in that when you're looking at those numbers from entrances. Setting up action items. Another thing that people forget to do is that analytics only goes so far, and it's just a lot of data. You have everything from half entrances to partial entrances to people maybe on your page or off the page and stuff, but you have to set up, you can have set up tags, which actually track different actions on your site. You can set up forms. A lot of people forget to set up an action item like buttons or forms and be able to track whether they've actually followed that link, whether they've actually filled out that form and you actually got the lead. What's your call to action like? And so there's a second part to that. If you're doing anything on Facebook, do you have a Facebook pixel set up? Do you have that tracking on your site? People generalize, but there's a second part to just having analytics. What are you doing to narrow it down so that you actually know what's coming to you? Do you have your tracking phone number? Of course, needs to be on the site when you're sending people there. But if you're reading your analytics and you want to track what your I guess the page activity is, make sure you know what you're asking for. You can't just send people to your homepage. A lot of people will do that. They'll have a campaign and they'll send everybody the homepage. And yet, sure, your homepage is great, but if you're spending all this money on a campaign, whether it's PPC, I don't care if it's GLS, if it's Facebook, whatever it is, you need to be able to have a landing page that is set up to collect that data and be a driven capture point for all of this money you're spending, because you're sending them down your own funnel at this point. Have a landing page set up where you're tracking just the traffic that's coming in from that source and the actions that are coming from that source. If I'm spending X amount of dollars in PPC and I'm getting this many page entrances and this many people fill out a form, I have metrics now to go by what I'm spending.